You know how in school your teacher would put on a movie as long as everyone stayed quiet, but then that one kid had to keep talking and just making noise, and your teacher was like, sorry, one person ruined it for everybody, now back to work. Well, that's pretty much what happened to Miiverse in 2017. Nintendo is no stranger to adding neat little apps to their systems, mainly starting with PictoChat on the DS. This allows you to send messages to friends in the same chat room as you, given that you were both actually in the same room in real life. But who cares? It was so nice to have this little app where you could draw and talk to your friends in a creative way. But while this is a cool app, it could never reach its full potential with no online support. So in 2008 in Japan and 2009 in America, we received Flipnote Studio, an animation app on the DSi, where you could draw using the DS stylus. It has sort of the same mechanics as Flipnote, but turned into an animation software that just about anyone can use. But what makes this also interesting is the fact that Flipnote Studio actually had online with Flipnote Hatena, where you could post your animations, view other people's animations, rate their animations, and they could also view and rate yours. Such a cool service that was later continued in 2013 with Flipnote Studio 3D on the 3DS. But the online was sadly only available in Japan until discontinued in 2018. Before this, Nintendo released their official ultimate online social media platform for the Wii U in 2012. That being Miiverse. Along with the birth of the Wii U came the birth of Miiverse, and while I never used Miiverse on the Wii U, a version of it for the 3DS wasn't released until over a year later, in December of 2013. With Miiverse released, there was finally an in-home way through your Nintendo systems to talk about your favorite Nintendo games and eShop titles. Elements of Flipnote and PictoChat were implemented with the ability to draw just like those applications, to post in the different game communities, and others could like and comment on your posts, as you'd expect with any social media platform. So now that we've discussed the basic concept that is Miiverse, let's take a look back at the road Nintendo took to get here. Well, actually, there isn't as much to it as we may think. Nintendo and Hatena, yes, the same Hatena from Flipnote, partnered up to release Miiverse. And this makes a lot more sense with how elements of Flipnote are baked into Miiverse, and with this idea planned, on June 3rd, 2012, at a pre-E3 Nintendo Direct, Nintendo announced Miiverse. And as we know, was later released with the launch of the Wii U. So with this new platform to talk about games, you need some way to make sure people know about Miiverse. So it was a common practice for Nintendo to add Miiverse functionality into many 3DS and Wii U games, and even the Wii U's Wara Wara Plaza, with it being a major piece of the plaza, with an example of some of the drawing you can do on Miiverse on display. Some of the first games to show off Miiverse were New Super Mario Bros. U, where users can use Miiverse to comment on different courses or levels, and Nintendo Land and Resident Evil Revelations, with many more games following behind them with Miiverse functionality, with Pokemon Art Academy being the first 3DS game to incorporate Miiverse functionality through directly sharing drawings, and even Smash Bros. For Wii U had a Miiverse stage, which seems like a forward progression of the PictoChat stage from Brawl. But by far, the most iconic Miiverse inclusion was in Splatoon, with the plaza having Miiverse posts appear as text bubbles above characters, and just splattered around. So with all this being said, I think it's safe to say that most active Nintendo fans at the time knew about Miiverse. So around the start of Miiverse, everyone was allowed to use the application and post most anything. But this was all ruined in February of 2013, where the minimum age needed to use Miiverse was raised to 13. I'm so sorry 12-year-olds in 2013, but if any of y'all were like me, I would just set my age to 20 years old or so for everything back in the day. So I didn't even know this was a rule until making this video. In April of 2013, we see Miiverse spread to PCs and smartphones, but in a beta form. But this was all super cool, and one of the first times Nintendo connected smartphones to the world of Nintendo's online. But when Miiverse really got started was with an integral feature of the service in May of 2013, with the introduction of allowing screenshots to be posted as comments, so that maybe if someone was stuck in a game and words couldn't quite get across exactly where to be or what to do, you could help them out with an image of exactly what you were trying to convey. In September of 2013, you could finally post like any other social media platform to your own activity feed so that your followers or just viewers of your profile could see your posts, and they weren't in any game community. So while Miiverse was intended to be about games, it became a standard social media platform with a Nintendo twist to it, and it was so much more compelling than other social media platforms for those reasons. Finally, in December of 2013, we see Miiverse come to the 3DS, which is honestly pretty nice considering how it launched on the Wii U. It wasn't fully fleshed out yet, but by the time it made its way to the 3DS, the service had been perfected, which made it worth the wait. And with all these updates coming within the first year of its release, Nintendo dropped the ball and essentially left Miiverse in this state for the next 2 years, which while fine, is a little concerning as most other social media platforms have constant updates and revisions as they care about the service. But this led me to believe that Nintendo wasn't quite as serious about Miiverse anymore. But in July of 2015, Nintendo came back and revised Miiverse. And now users could post to their play journal, save screenshots in their album, post drawings in a separate section in the community, and post discussions if they needed help with completing a level in a game. The redesign also added a daily post limit, in which every user on the network could post up to 30 posts a day. However, this also removed the ability to post to the activity feed, which was a bit of a blow to the service as the activity feed made it feel a little bit more like Twitter. But hey, I understand that this was always intended to be for Nintendo games and not random discussions. But that didn't stop anyone from still just talking about whatever in random communities, such as the YouTube community. So with this redesign, fans were content for a little while. But what none of us knew was that this would be the last time Miiverse was updated until August of 2017, when Nintendo announced that Miiverse would be discontinued on November 7th. At least Nintendo made it so users could request to be sent a copy of all posts and screenshots they had made while using the service. However, replies to said posts would not be included. And as they promised, on November 7th of 2017 at 10 p.m. PT, Miiverse was shut down on the same day that Wii U Chat was discontinued. But I don't think too many people were upset about that one. But why did Nintendo shut down Miiverse? Well, if you take a look at some of the posts people would put on there, they aren't the types of things you'd expect on a Nintendo social media platform. Or maybe they're exactly the types of things you'd expect to see on a Nintendo social media platform. Things just got a little too, not family friendly to say the least. But Nintendo never directly admitted to this, with them stating that people were moving to other social media platforms, so they deemed it a fitting time to end the service, with the Switch being their main console at this point, and they had no plans to port Miiverse over to the Switch. So with all of Miiverse gone, it was left to the fans to recover what had been lost, and on January 3rd of 2018, a full archive of Miiverse, aptly titled Archiverse, sure, was created by the fans, so that you are still able to see all of your old posts and comments, which just goes to show how much the fans cared about Miiverse, and that how many people would be ecstatic if Nintendo ever decided to bring it back. In the 4 years since Miiverse was discontinued, there's been no sign of a reboot or successor from Nintendo, and who knows if there will ever be one. And fans can't be expected to just sit around and wait for Miiverse to come back. So they took things into their own hands, once again, to bring back Miiverse with Reverse, or Rverse, which was officially released in January of 2018. And look at this, we have Miiverse back, and honestly, there are more active users than I expected, which is once again more proof that Nintendo should really bring it back. I really hate to keep talking about this, as I have a whole video about this, but the Nintendo charm seems to have just been thrown out the window in 2017 with the Switch. And while they are still making incredible games, their menu, eShop, and services are all lifeless. So please, Nintendo, bring back menu and eShop music, and bring back Miiverse. Please! We've been waiting for years, and while we love your games, we also love Flipnote and PictoChat and Miiverse. But, not Wii U Chat. That's okay. You can leave Wii U Chat in its grave. Just look at YouTube and how popular Miiverse post videos would get. Those numbers are hard proof of the appeal of Miiverse. It being literal Nintendo Twitter is so cool. And with how many people have the Switch, from people of all ages and backgrounds, you have a huge variety of people and a huge variety of games that make Miiverse perfect on Switch. Just release Miiverse and an official Miiverse stylus for the Switch, and boom, we could have Flipnote 2, or even an online version of PictoChat. Literally, the possibilities are endless. Sadly, I don't think we will ever see any of these, but I haven't lost all hope yet. While Miiverse was never an essential service for Nintendo systems, it's upsetting that it was something we once had that has since been taken away with no replacement. While Miiverse may be gone, it's still cool to see how it lives on in some form in Splatoon 2 and Mario Maker 2, where in Splatoon 2, you can still draw in ways where it appears in bubbles above your character, and in Mario Maker 2, with the way you can comment on and interact with levels to let the creator and other players know how you felt about it. And I hope these features continue in Splatoon 3, and if there is a Mario Maker 3, in that game as well. Which is the reason I haven't lost all hope in terms of Miiverse ever coming back, but I'm not holding my breath waiting for it to happen any day now. To sum this whole video up, It was always neat to have our own little Nintendo Twitter where people of all ages could go on and be harassed by anyone and everyone, while also getting help with their favorite games or just discussing them among other topics that may not have been related to games at all, but just life itself. So while there may not be any plans for Miiverse to make a comeback anytime soon, I can see a future with a Miiverse successor, launching with the release of a new Nintendo system, maybe even as soon as a couple of years from now. But until then, there are always homebrew options to get Miiverse back up and running. If you want to check them out, as always, I will have links in the description. Thank you all so much for being here today. The support I've gotten recently has been incredible, and I always enjoy making these videos as this is something I truly care about. And if you did enjoy the video, or maybe even learn something, or just at least feel like you didn't waste your time, please like the video so I know to make more videos like this in the future. And if you feel inclined, you can check out my other videos like this one, or maybe just even subscribe if you like what you see. And it truly does help out as I am a growing channel. But with all that being said, I just want to thank you all, and I hope you have a great day, afternoon, evening, and night.